Burst City Suns talk. Brendan and Damian. Like 18 on the run, the way you containing them. All the latest from coming to the Suns. Inside information and getting it done. For Phoenix Sports, they number one. Kinda like Booker, yeah, they on the rise. Come and see, it's all things Phoenix. Burst City Suns talk, we going live.
Oh, we're live. We're ready? Oh, welcome into episode 7. Hey, that's how I was getting my neck stretches in right there. That's what you got to do to get started there. Welcome in, everybody, to episode 7 of Bird City Suns Talk, where we deliver the funniest and hottest Suns content in the Valley from our Phoenix Suns insiders who are at practices and are at the games as well. I love that. Follow me at JRussellTV. We apologize for not having the show the last couple of weeks, but we are back and better than ever. I'm joined by my two boys. I'm joined by Brendan Mao and Damian Adams, who are here to discuss arguably the best team in basketball the past couple of weeks. We're going to start off with Brendan Mao first. Brendan, what are we going to be talking about today, man?
Yeah, Jay, like you said, the Suns have been on a 7-game win streak. They're one of the hottest topics in all the NBA. And right here in the Valley with not much other good stuff going on here. So, Phoenix has won 7 in a row, so we're going to get into their win streak a little bit. And then Devin Booker, he hit the game winner, and he was also named the Western Conference Player of the Week this past week, so he's been really big time, especially without Kevin Durant the past couple of days. So we're going to just talk about them in general, what's going on, what's working well after they kind of started the season off slow, but now they're really picking it back up. And then it looks like the Suns have pretty much clinched the NBA in-season tournament. They're going to advance probably to the quarterfinals against the Lakers, which comes up it will be either on Monday or Tuesday of next week. So we're going to discuss that. And because the games are right now, they're happening right now. The Minnesota versus Oklahoma City Thunder game is very it tells whether or not the Suns get in. So that game's happening right now. So we're going to discuss some of the scenarios for the Suns, to what they have to do to get in. And then finally, we're going to look ahead to their next 3 games before that in-season tournament quarterfinals would happen. So.
Well, the Suns games just got a lot more interesting. 7 in a row, and how about that game winner by Devin Booker to defeat the New York Knicks on Sunday? Wet like I'm Book. That's why they call them that. Now, how have the Suns been able to do this after a slow start, Damian? Because, they had a whole bunch of injuries in the beginning, but they're really starting to get steam now.
So during the 7-game win streak, their offense has been just absolutely blazing. Like, they're averaging 124 points per game, which would be good enough for second in the NBA throughout the whole season. Sheesh. So it'd be right behind Indiana Pacers, who have been just going crazy this year on offense. And they're shooting 51% from the field and 43% from 3, which would both be tops in the NBA if you translate throughout the whole season. So you look at their offense and what they're being able to do, the ball movement, the efficiency, everything's been clicking on the offensive end of the floor for them. And it's all around their 2 stars, Booker and Kevin Durant.
Well, that's what it's all about. Speaking of Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, we're missing our third member of our big 3. We're talking about our Suns insider, Jacob Harden, who's been impressed by the duo.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. And, of course, it's not a coincidence that the Suns get Devin Booker back and they start to take fire. You kind of have a little bit of worries early on in the season, I think mostly from the fans, not from the players. Actually, I would say nothing from the players. They know what they have, but people were really underestimating the power of what Devin Booker can bring to a team. There are, of course, questions regarding whether or not he could fill that point guard role, and by now he's answered that question 100%. How could you not be impressed? Just recently won Western Conference Player of the Week, his 8th of his career, which actually leads all of Suns in franchise history, a new record that Devin Booker has broken. Just another one that he can add to his legacy as a Phoenix Sun. And I think it is a shame that him and Kevin Durant both are not higher in the MVP conversation. When you look at the totals, of course, you have Nikola Jokic up there, you have Joel Embiid. You have all the big name stars, but then you also have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. That I think last time I checked, Kevin Durant was around 7th, and then you had Devin Booker at 10th, which I understand they have missed some time, so of course that plays into consideration. But Kevin Durant's 2nd in the NBA right now in points per game, only behind Embiid, and he's leading. He's shooting at a 52% three-pointer rate. It's absolutely insane. And then Devin Booker, if he was able to stay healthy, would just be right there as well. So while they are creeping up in those MVP rankings, I do think they deserve a little bit more credit for what they've done early on. Of course, injuries, like I said, but as the season progresses and if they're able to stay healthy, I would not be surprised to see either Kevin Durant or Devin Booker sneak in that top 5. Devin Booker just last week, I'll read off some stats right here. He got 30.3 points per game, 7.8 assists per game, and 5.3 rebounds per game. And the Suns are 8-1 with Devin Booker on the court this season, and they're 3-5 without. So it's hard to put it in perspective on how even when he's struggling, like he was struggling pretty hard against the Knicks. That last second 3-pointer was the first 3 he made all night. But even his impact just on the court, whether it be rebounding, playmaking, whatever it is, he's helping the Suns win. And same with Kevin Durant, of course. So what is there not to be impressed about? They've done everything that we expected them to do and more than that. And I think, they're the best duo in the league right now. There's no question about that. So I'll leave you guys with that. And it's an exciting time to watch Devin Booker and Kevin Durant play together.
There you go. You just heard Jacob right there talking about Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. But just in case you didn't see that game winner in the Big Apple, check it out right here.
Here comes quickly. Get it to Goodwood. Back to Booker. Booker on the drive. Booker puts up a 3. Oh, he puts it in with 1.7 remaining. Devin Booker with the clutch 3. And the Knicks call timeout.
Not a good shot. Looked like he didn't want to take the shot. And he seemed to just throw the ball up to the hoop. Watch this. Doesn't seem like he wants to take the shot. And then
Sheesh, the Big Apple out there got a little silent out there at Madison Square Garden. But out here in Phoenix, so it was ringing all loud. So that's what we've been talking about mostly for the show. Guys like KD and Book. I mean, you normally hear the normal conversation about MVPs. You're talking about LeBron, Giannis, Embiid, but it looks like we may have 2 candidates just on this team. So I'm going to ask you, both of you guys this. Do you think KD and Devin Booker should be candidates for MVP?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you have 2 guys on the same team. I think that could hurt them in the long run just because you have 2 guys on the same team that can't both be the most valuable players. So I think at this point, you kind of forget they even have Bradley Beal just waiting there. So it's kind of scary what these 2 are doing. And Kevin Durant carried the Suns when Devin Booker was out, and Devin Booker's carrying them right now while KD's out. So it's like both of them have just been valuable to the Suns. So when you look at it, I mean, they just lead the Suns. They're both averaging right around 30 points per game. They lead them in everything they do. And the rest of the team has really bought into that. So I think that's been huge to see them really buy into what the Suns what Coach Frank Vogel wants from this team, and it's really coming to fruition very quickly after we thought is this really going to work right away? And now Devin Booker's back, and they won 7 straight, like Jacob was saying. So it's just crazy to see when Devin Booker's in the lineup, the Suns are winning. So,
yeah, and that may be what separates Booker from KD. When we saw KD without Booker, the team kind of struggled. You saw a lot of turnovers. And even KD's joked about how, I'm glad we have our point guard back because he makes the team go. He makes that engine go. He's the engine that makes the car go for the Suns. But it kind of reminds me of when KD was with Golden State and how him and Steph Curry were both putting up MVP-type numbers, but weren't getting MVP votes because they were both on the same team. So that goes to your point about how they could hurt each other when it comes to the votes. You have other players out there who are more of the single stars of their team, like an Embiid who's balling out for Philadelphia this year.
Balling.
You got, Giannis, even though he has Dame hasn't really played up to Dame level yet this year, so Giannis could be another guy there. Nikola Jokic, of course, is a guy who could be there in the MVP conversation. A new guy who could be in that conversation is Tyrese Halliburton for the Indiana Pacers this year.
What?
Yeah, he's been balling out and killing it for Indiana. So there's definitely a lot of competition this year when it comes to the MVP race. So the fact that they're both on the same team can definitely hurt each other when it comes to their voting potential when it comes to that.
I want y'all to remember this at home. Tyrese, who at the beginning of the season thought any Indiana Pacer would be in that conversation there? Now, getting back to our team, Kevin Durant has missed the last 2 games, and Bradley Beal hasn't played in a while. So we could talk about these stars, but what about the team's depth? I think that's really big too. I mean, we've been seeing them consistently just people have just been stepping up just all over the place. It's kind of crazy when you think about that. Just Eric Gordon, we thought he was going to be sixth man of the year type of thing. This guy's in the starting lineup. So I'm all like, all right. So, who do you think has been the most consistent Sun, that has really stepped up for the team?
Yeah, I think lately, unfortunately, he's not going to play tomorrow because his wife's having a baby. So congratulations to Nasir Little. But he scored 10 points in 4 of the last 5 games for the Suns. And he was just kind of out of the rotation for a little bit. He came back in. He's just been very consistent.
Look at that.
He's been flying all over the place, knocking down threes, playing some awesome defense. So I think Josh Okogie's been struggling, so he's really stepped up in that same role as Josh. He's not as great of a rebounder as Okogie, but his defense has been key, and he's kind of filling in those gaps. Similarly, Jordan Goodwin, he's been the last 2 games he's had a season-high 14 points in both of those games. So
Looking like Batman.
took off that mask for those last couple games, and he's just been balling. So I think it's been huge to have some of those contributors step up. And like you mentioned, Eric Gordon. Chimezi Metu's another name. He wasn't in the rotation for a while. Then Eubanks got hurt, and then he played some backup 5. And then KD missed last game. He played some backup 4. So I think Chimezi Metu, there's so many guys that could have a spot in this rotation, but unfortunately they have too many of them.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons that Frank Vogel said at the beginning of the season, we were at some of the press conferences, that the lineup is going to be fluid. It's going to be something that rotates and moves around because they have so many talented players. And you mentioned Eric Gordon. He was my pick for Sixth Man of the Year, but unfortunately he may play too many starter minutes to be Sixth Man of the Year. But in this win streak, he's been balling out, 16.7 points per game, shooting over 50% from the field, 46% from 3. Like, that's just tremendous for what he's there for. He's there to put the ball in the basket. He's been doing that at a high rate. Grayson Allen, we have to mention as well. He missed the last game due to illness, but he's been balling during this winning streak as well, shooting the ball very, very well. So when you have those guys providing the offense, you have Keita Bates-Diop, and he mentioned Metu. You also have Goodwin on the defensive side. They have a well-balanced machine right now of players who are just really fitting well together.
And what I really like about it, too, it's like small egos for this team. We know who the big 3 are, and we know that the media attention that they're going to get and everything, but everyone else is just filling into their roles right now. Like you were talking about, and it's like Little. I mean, for him, he's a long wing. He could defend out there. He's not a person that you're going to bully around and stuff. Big strength guy. And then he takes a lot of pressure off of KD having to guard like that LeBron or something. You could put, now I'm not saying Little about to, lock down anybody, but at least he's going to make you work for it. And speaking about the bench as well, they've been playing so well. How do you think that rotation is going to look once everyone is fully healthy? It kind of goes back to that question we've been asking since media day, who's going to be that 5th starter?
Yeah, it's tough. And like I said, I think Metu could find himself in this rotation just because they'd have a shorter leash on Eubanks and Nurkic just because he's been playing so well. So if they've been getting in foul trouble a lot too. So if one of them's in foul trouble, he can play that because he kind of gives them that small ball lineup that they've been running with Kevin Durant because he's kind of the same size as KD but can defend it in the post better. And like in the preseason, he was playing the 4 a lot. So I think he could definitely find an extra spot in that rotation that wasn't available before just because of how well he's been playing. And I've kind of been surprised that Nurkic hasn't missed any games, honestly, because he's been very injury prone. But he's just been consistent in there. He's not someone you really talk about a lot, but he's been doing all the dirty work for the Suns, and he's been big this past few games. So right now I have him at Devin Booker, Bradley Beal. I think Grayson Allen has earned that 5th spot for now just because of the lineups they've been running. Then Durant, obviously, and then Nurkic, and then off the bench, Eric Gordon.
Yeah,
Got the 6-man minutes right there. And then I think Jordan Goodwin the past few games has been huge. And then I would go Nasir Little and Drew Eubanks right now. And then maybe Yuta, but it's tough.
I got to stop you. So you're putting J.O. out of the rotation?
Yeah, he's just been, like, last game he started and he only played, I think, less than 20 minutes. It's just his shooting has really hurt them. And I think once he establishes that, it's just like Jordan Goodwood and Nasir Little basically fill the same role as him, and they're doing it better, quite frankly. The only thing that Okogie has on, like, everyone in the NBA. He's the number one leading offensive rebounder, I think, for guys under 6'4". So when you have a guy like that can crash a glass, it's just tough to see because he's missing so many shots after he started off the season well, and he's had it's like one in every 4 games he has a really good night. So you just need more consistent play, and I think those other guys are being more consistent than him.
You know what's wild about that too? That game that we went to, was it the Minnesota Timberwolves we went to, I believe? Okay, so I was asking Frank Vogel about that. Hey, he made those corner threes, then he made another 3, but then it kind of came down to the point again. We need to see that consistently, and he wasn't doing it. It's just crazy to think that at the beginning of the season, we were talking about J.O. being a star type of thing, but it just shows, that's what the question was, who's going to be in the rotation for the depth and everything, too. And what has led them to that moving forward, the NBA in-season tournament, Brendan, I know you're hopefully going to be there with the Suns if they get that far, but Q first explained what the Suns have to do before they get out to Vegas.
Yeah, Jay. So you can take a look here at the NBA in-season tournament standings, and you can see that the Suns are firmly in this wild card spot. Now, the Thunder and Timberwolves are playing right now. That game just started. And the only way the Suns are out of the spot is if the Timberwolves beat the Thunder by more than 38 points. So if you can, I don't know, is that going to happen? That would be a wild thing to see. But, yeah, so, we could go into it more about our thoughts on it, but it's based on this point differential. The Suns have a 3-1 record. The Lakers won their group, and right now it's shaping up like they're going to travel to L.A. next Monday or Tuesday, like I said before, and then play the Lakers, and whoever wins that is going to Vegas for the semifinals, and then whoever wins that going to the championship. So we'll see if the Timberwolves can beat the Thunder by more than 38 tonight.
We'll see. It's the first time we're going for Karl Anthony Towns there, I see. Now, that graphic seems super complicated to some people, but I think once people understand what's going on, they're going to get a little bit more familiar with it. But what do you guys overall think about the tournament this season, Damian? I mean, have you been intrigued by it? Are you NBA, just stop doing these gimmicks and just go back to East versus West all-star game type of stuff? What the fans want, by the way, as well. But what do you think about it, though?
I think it's been good for the league. I think it's brought interest to the league. And when you watch an in-season tournament game, you know it's something different going on because the courts are so loud. You definitely screaming. Yeah, they scream at you. They definitely let you know, hey, something's going on here. You might want to watch. And I think they've done a good job of piquing interest in casual fans. We're going to watch anyway, right? Mm-hmm. But for the casual fan who only tunes in after Christmas, this has piqued their interest. Oh, what's going on? Why is this court so loud? Let me check out what's going on this game. And I think they've done a good job of that. Next year, I would just suggest some of the courts be tuned down just a little bit, just so I don't have to change stuff on my TV and my settings just to watch the game. But I think overall, it's been really good. And you see that players are taking it seriously. You've seen some really competitive games. Yeah. You've seen some weird moments where you're Anthony Davis fighting somebody. What's going on? Is the brightness of the court getting the people? What's happening? But I definitely think that it's been good for the league, and it's something they will continue going forward.
And Brendan, that 500,000 that they could possibly be getting, do you think that's a motivator, or do you think it's kind of just you're an NBA player, you're already balling, you don't need it?
Jay, the crazy part about the Suns, the fact that they got in, they beat they have the Pelicans by a single point differential, and that's because Devin Booker was playing garbage minutes against the Grizzlies on Friday and banked in a 3 on the Suns' last possession. So that ultimately got them over the hump. So I think just going based off of that, even though that's amazing to see, I think it's really hurts when you have these games, they're wrapping up on Tuesday. I think they should all wrap up on the same day so you don't know. The Timberwolves now know they have to beat the Thunder by 38. The Suns had no idea. They knew they just had to blow them out. So I think then the NBA needs to figure out a way to have these games all end on the same day. And I know it's tough with all the scheduling and everything, and it's still a regular season game. So I just think that's one thing that they need to change moving forward because, in soccer, they're going based on this model. They do that where they all end on the same day, so you don't know what's going to happen until everyone's done. And right now, people know what's going to happen. Yeah. They know exactly what they need. So I just think that's a part for the Suns that are if they had a 15-point, they were up by 15 and the Timberwolves won by 16, they'd be what the heck?
Right, yeah.
So I just think I think it's like that part of it is something that the NBA needs to figure out a way to change. But no, going to Vegas next week, I think that'll bring a ton of excitement. Because Vegas doesn't have a basketball team, and besides the Aces, and they love the Aces there. So I think that'll be great for just the city of Vegas and the NBA in general, because that'll definitely have a feel for it for the players, because it's a neutral site game. You never see neutral site games in the NBA unless they go overseas or something. So I think
Preseason games and stuff,
that'll be very, very exciting.
And also, I'm talking to our director, producer, Martin. He already knew what I was going to say. If I can get this one shot on me, thank you very much. Also, I want to put this out there, too, that Brendan wants them to go because he wants to go to Vegas to cover the Suns. So let me go ahead and put that out there, too. Okay, we can go back out to the one shot now. Okay. All right, so finally, what's your guys' prediction real quick for the in-season tournament? Who's going to take it all over?
Ooh, who's going to take the in-season tournament? I'm going to go with... I hate to hear this. I'm gonna go with the Lakers to take the in-season
Lake
tournament.
Show?
Yeah, I feel like LeBron when it comes to these trophies, LeBron wants to add as many as he can, and he may only get 1 or 2 chances at this in-season tournament since he's in year 21.
That's a good point.
So he and AD might want to take this, and they've been really in those games playing really well.
Serious
in those in-season tournament games. Now the bracket, we talked about it a few weeks ago. The group that the Suns and Lakers were in was not the strongest group, so that's why they look so good.
Right.
But now we're going to see when it goes forward how seriously they are taking it. And to mention that 500,000, it don't mean nothing to LeBron. But like the 12th guy on the bench,
he wants that.
It means something to him. So I think that
exactly.
The stars are going to play hard for those guys at the end of the bench that may need the extra 500,000 to do something with.
And bro, I want to ask you, I know we talked a lot about the West, but who do you think is going to come out on the East, on that side? I mean, surprisingly enough, I don't know why, but Orlando Magic actually looked pretty good this year. And then the Sixers have played better than we thought without James Harden. But I want you to give your overall, but I want to hear about the Eastern Conference as well.
Yeah, well, the 76ers are out, so they're not going to make it. But the Magic and the Rockets are 2 teams that can both be in, which is just crazy to hear. Who would have thought that? And the Pacers, too. The Pacers are locked in. So it'll probably be – I haven't looked much in the East, but it looks like it's going to be the Pacers, Bucks, and Magic at least, and then that wild card spot is up for grabs. So those 3 teams are going to be at least they're going to propose some problems with how well they've been playing, and I think that's besides the Lakers, most of these teams are going to be pretty hot going into this tournament. So I think that's a kind of an appeal for it as well. So some of this, and when you go into the playoffs, most of the teams are kind of teetering off because they know they don't really have to play for much anymore. Yeah. But when you go into this, some of these teams are really starting to find their groove. So they're going to be playing some high-level basketball right out of the gates. And you have those surprise teams, like I said. The Rockets can make it in today if they win. And you have the Pacers and the Magic. So it's just going to be very exciting to see. And for me, I think the Suns, if they can stay healthy, they can get KD back. That's going to be a big thing, which I think he should be back in a week. I mean, he practiced today, and then he was warming up with the team last game. Just was a late scratch. The team decided to hold him out. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be the Suns and Bucks. And then I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough game because you have those Damian Lillard finally in a big game situation with the Bucks.
Damn time.
And it's going to be a very exciting game, but yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Bucks over the Suns.
Okay. Well, that's the pick that he has. We're live on YouTube right now, so let's get your comments, see what you guys really think about that too.
And just one last point about the in-season tournament. You mentioned the Rockets earlier. It's weird because now you have Pelicans fans rooting for the Mavericks tonight. Are rooting for the Mavericks to beat the Rockets in this game. So it's something that the NCAA tournament has added is now Pelicans fans are going to watch maybe a Rockets-Mavericks game they wouldn't have watched before.
Right.
Because they need the Mavericks to win for them to get into the NCAA tournament. So I think it's doing a good job of not only bringing fans in or casuals, but making fans who maybe just watch the Pelicans or just the Suns watch other games because they're like, oh, we need this team to win to get in and stuff like that. So I think overall it's done a really good job.
And then, too, just for those small market teams like the Orlando Magic, we really haven't talked about Orlando since that 2009 season where they went to the finals against the Lakers type of thing. So that is nice for those smaller markets that could say, hey, we could at least get a trophy or something. Or a team like, there's teams like the Pelicans. If they were healthy, we never know what they could be because they're not healthy, type of thing. But it is nice to see that. Looking ahead for the Suns, I know that they play 3 more games before the final games of the tournament. Tomorrow they play the Toronto Raptors to close out their 3-game road trip. Then they have the Nuggets on Friday and the Grizzlies at home on Saturday. Now, they haven't had KD in the last 2 games, as mentioned before. So with the injury updates, Brendan, we're talking about for tomorrow's game against the Raptors. What are you looking at that?
Yeah, so the injury reports today, KD is questionable. Coach Frank Vogel said today that they would see how he responds to practice. So I would suspect it would kind of be the same thing, that he's going to be a game-time decision again, just because, they played so well without him, and they don't want to rush him back, especially with the in-season tournament right around the corner. But that's just my feeling. I don't know for sure what's going to happen there. If he wakes up and he feels fine, he has a right foot contusion. They said on today's injury report before, it was just listed as right foot soreness. So it's going to be interesting to see. And then Grayson Allen, Coach Frank Vogel said after practice today that he felt better, but he did not practice with the team and is going to travel to Toronto. So I guess they'll just see how he feels tomorrow. I don't know exactly what his illness is, but hopefully the Suns have those 2 back against a good Raptors team, a really good defensive team. And the good thing for the Suns right now is that the Raptors are playing their final in-season tournament game against the Nets right now, so they're going to be on the second night of a back-to-back. And then another thing that I said earlier is that Nasir Little won't be playing tomorrow because of the birth of his daughter, so he will be out, and that'll be a big miss for the Suns off the bench, especially, like I said, he's like a perfect player to play against the Raptors because how scrappy he is. He's going to get all those loose balls and stuff, so we'll see if Josh Okogie can have a good game for the Suns and see who they decide to start, because I would think if Nasir was good to go that they would start him over Okogie, even though they started Okogie last game instead of Allen. We'll see there. And then, obviously, Bradley Beal is still out with his low back strain, which is going to be reevaluated on December 8th. And then Damian Lee is still out with his right meniscus surgery. So the Suns are kind of banged up right now, but it hasn't mattered. So,
Well, it kind of hurts, too, because when we go to the Suns games, we'll see, Damian Lee, and, he's back there, and you could just tell he just wants to get out there on the court. And it's kind of crazy to think, too. We haven't even seen the Suns at, full strength yet. So it'll be exciting to get them back. And speaking of that, for this win streak to continue, Damian, I'll start with you. How long do you think it'll be, and do you think it's going to continue starting with the Raptors coming up?
I do think they could beat the Raptors just because the Raptors have times where they just struggle on offense, where they really find it hard to score.
Yeah.
And with the way that they are scoring right now, the Suns are, the way I mentioned earlier, how they're one of the top offenses in the league during the 7-game win streak. I think they'll be able to score enough against the Raptors to win that game. Now, the thing that worries me about the Suns is their defense during this win streak. They've been allowing 114 points per game, which would put them at 21st in the NBA if you translate throughout the whole season.
Gotcha.
And that's not good enough to continue winning, because you're going to have a night where the shots don't go in, right? They've been shooting crazy NBA Jam. They're on fire. They've been shooting at that type of level so far during this win streak. So eventually that's going to come down, because that's just how basketball works. You're going to have up and down nights, up and down streaks.
Right.
So when that shooting goes down, is the defense going to be good enough to win when that shooting isn't there? And that's supposed to be Frank Vogel's thing. And we really haven't seen that during this win streak. So even though they're winning, there is some concern there.
It's wild, too. I don't know if you two know this. I remember the last game I went to, the Suns were second in blocks in the NBA. And I'm like, the Suns? What's Drew Eubanks blocking out there? And that's the thing, too. I think people underestimate KD. You're just not I'm just going to body him a little bit. And then, his wingspan is so long. Yeah. That's how he gets the block and everything. But we were talking about, I'll let Brendan answer this right now. How long do you think that win streak is going to go on? And they got that tough game coming up against the Nuggets as well. I don't think Jamal Murray is back. I think he's still injured, but they've still been playing championship basketball.
Yeah, they missed Jokic last night, and Reggie Jackson had 35 and 13, and then DeAndre Jordan went vintage. DeAndre Jordan had a 20-point double-double, which is just ridiculous. So
he hasn't done that since the Obama administration.
Right, and that was versus the Clippers.
Yeah,
which
their
you're
former
thinking,
team. Yeah.
Sheesh.
So, I think, just knowing the Suns, Jamal Murray's probably going to be healthy for that game. I think that's right around where he's going to be reevaluated, but we'll see. I think he needs to get in a few practices, and obviously you want to see Kevin Durant healthy, and you want to see the Suns continue this win streak into the in-season tournament, but they also play Saturday, like you said, against the Grizzlies, so I think that'll be a good win just to boost their confidence because, I mean, you saw the Grizzlies really struggled against the Suns who were
trash.
who were really shorthanded. So I think that'll be a good game for the Suns. If they lose that game against the Grizzlies, I won't be confident about their in-season tournament hopes.
Right?
Yeah, the Grizzlies have been struggling really, really bad. Ja Morant, I know they just waiting for him to come back, praying for these 25 games to get by because they need him bad.
Yeah. Well, wanted to ask you two, too. I know we've been off for a while. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add about the Phoenix Suns, NBA in general?
Anything?
I don't think I have anything today.
All right. Well, I think Brendan, what do y'all think y'all biggest hot takes were today? I would say, I think for Brendan, I don't know, that just kind of shocked me about the Josh Okogie thing. And I'm not even debating you against it. I'm like, gosh, he's got a good point. But, what would you think your biggest hot take was today, Damian?
Biggest hot take, probably Tyrese Halliburton being in the MVP.
Tyrese Halliburton, yeah.
Being in the MVP conversation.
I like that.
But to his point about J.O., me and our VO guy DJ were joking about it during the last game. It feels like they were substituting him like a hockey player, where they were just bringing him in and out
defense?
So quickly. Just for defense.
Gotcha.
And this was not in the fourth. Normally you see it in the fourth quarter where you'll be like, okay, we're going to have this guy just in for defense and bring him right back out. They were doing this early. So obviously not only has J.O. not shown confidence in his offensive game, Frank Vogel's lost confidence in his offensive game. So that's something where that goes to his point about maybe you won't see J.O. as much in the rotation.
That's tough. All right, well, guys, go ahead and tell the people where they can follow you on social media.
You can follow me on X, or formerly known as Twitter, at Brendan_Mal.
And you can find me on all social media platforms at The Real Deal WDA. That's The Real Deal, W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, and A as in Alpha.
All right, guys. Well, appreciate y'all coming on today, letting me host the show with y'all. Y'all was having so much fun. I had to hop on here, too. Well, Burn City Sports is much more than the Suns. We have coverage on the Cardinals, the Diamondbacks, Coyotes, Arizona State, the Mercury, and we just included high schools. So we got everything that you could possibly think of. Just go to burncitysports.com, and we have you taken care of. Be sure to check us out for next week, and I'm going to do Damian sign out. Peace.
Burn City Suns talk. Brendan and Damian. Like 18 on the run, the way you containing them. All the latest from coming to the Suns. Inside information and getting it done. For Phoenix Sports, they number one. Kinda like Booker, yeah, they on the rise. Come and see, it's all things Phoenix. Burn City Suns talk, we going live.